So guys, this is the second part of the workflow tutorial that I promised to, or I didn't promise though, but that I said I was going to put out, right? And this is just the editing workflow tutorial, right? So you probably have watched the first part, the process of how to generate your script, generate your voiceover, storyboard, and come up with a story, right? So this is just going to be purely how to edit product launch videos, essentially, right? And I'm not going to go I'm not going to go in depth, or I'm not going to do full breakdowns like how to do certain things, right? I'm just going to show the concepts to you, and whichever way you know how to do it best, because this is Premiere Pro, right? And I'm certain a couple of people use CapCut or DaVinci or something, right? So I'm not going to show you how to do something particularly on Premiere Pro because you might be using CapCut, so it might complicate the whole tutorial. But I'm going to show the concept to you. So whichever way you can achieve that concept with whatever platform you use to edit, then that's fine, right? But I'm going to share tips and tricks and a couple of things that you could do to enhance or make your videos better, right? So that's what this tutorial is going to be, but it's going to be like my own editing workflow. And I'm sure if you take some of this take note of some of these things and some of this concept, and recreating your own way of style or your own platform, then I'm sure you make your videos better, way better. And it doesn't just apply to making product launch videos, also applies to general like editing and all of that, right? So first things first, I don't want this workspace. This is a workspace, an editor workspace for Premiere Pro. I don't want it to confuse you. It is quite similar to CapCut as well. You have your editing timeline, your video timeline, your audio timeline, and I'm sure it's similar to CapCut and DaVinci, right? Same with your playback view. Excuse me. Where you have where you're editing the playback playing through this piece, and you have your timestamp or this media playback here. Then you have your file manager. This is where you put your how am I bopping a lot? Where you have your files files that you want to use, you want to edit, like your materials, your extra footage, all of your sound. This is basically your file manager. So you can drag and drop whatever footage into the timeline. And this is your editing, your effects tab where you have for color grading, your motion graphics, sound, and text basically. Right. So it's similar to CapCut, and I'm sure it's also similar to, so don't let this confuse you, right? Just take note of the things I'm saying is basically, right? So let's get on with the first part when you're editing. Now, if you watch the first video, I mentioned, I've stated how to generate your how to prompt, how to generate your footages from AI, how to reference or how to source for reference videos that you can use to create your own should I say your own videos, right? Essentially. So now after you've done all of that, when you're starting out, you need to organize your files or your materials, your videos, right? As you can see here, I have all of them in folders, right? It's not always like this anyway. Like sometimes you're working on the clock or you're working on with the deadline, and you just have to, but the best part when you start working with agencies, you start working with clients, the best way to go about it is actually organize your files. It will make your work faster and easier, to make it more interesting, because if everything is scattered, imagine I have to start scrolling through, a couple of random files everywhere scattered around. It will make the process harder and more stressful, because I have to search. So that extra 30 seconds, 1 minute is used to search for something that is actually there, is going to, you know, how will I put it? It's going to spoil the flow of, you're definitely in a flow state, right? So having to search for something and not seeing it immediately you search for it is quite frustrating at times, right? So you can disrupt your flow state, right? So putting these files in folders, right? Like you can say I have a folder for AI generated footages. So all the footages I've generated from my scripts, from Xfield, from Gemini, I put them into this folder, AI generated footages. So I know that if I'm looking for an AI footage that I generated, I'm coming to this folder to look for it. Audio, you can find like both my music bed, which is the background music, and the voiceover script in audio files. Footages, these are like stock footages I found, not AI generated though, but like I found from YouTube, the news clips, all of these things is inside this place. Images, I used some PNG, some images, animated some of them, so they're also in this folder. Motion graphics templates, same thing. Movie clips, clips from movies that I want to use in the video essentially are also here. Some overlay green screen footage is also here. My sequence, other sequences that I've made in subsequences are also here. And SFX, all the sound effects that I've used are also in this folder. So everything is organized, right? So I'm not searching, looking for something that is not lost, right? In my file manager, everything is arranged. So it's the very first step into having a very smooth editing workflow, right? Organizing your files, right? It makes it easier. It's just like the way I am in real life. When I'm editing my workspace, I like to see it arranged, because I notice most of the time when my room is scattered, and sometimes I don't have that creative flow, right? So I tend to want to arrange my room first before I start editing any footage, because it gives me that sense of calm. And so it's the same way with your work on this workspace, right? Everything being arranged like this is makes it easier. So make sure you arrange your folders, arrange your files well, so that when you're editing it's easier. Now, back coming down here, I downgraded this file from a newer version of Premiere Pro, because my subscription ran out and I had to downgrade to this version basically. So it was color coded actually, but the color just, I don't know, got messed up in the downgrade, and it just became like double color or one color. So but that's fine. Normally I would color code all of these things, so you will know anytime you see red is sound effect, anytime you see blue is a movie clip. Well, just try and make your work organized basically, so that when you're editing it is not good. Because when you start working with projects, you start working with clients, you need to work with time, you need to work with speed, and these habits will make your editing faster and smoother, right? So that's for organization, right? And I've talked about the interface basically. So choosing music, let's start with choosing music, right? I would not directly tell you or say use this particular type of music. Any music you use is fine. But what I would say is, any music you are using, especially um if you are going to make all I say product launches that are like this epic, this kind of cinematic epic style, right? Product launches, this particular style is similar to movie trailers. And if you watch a lot of movie trailers, I'll suggest you watch a lot of movie trailers. Listen to the kind of music they use. It starts off slow and ambient, right? It doesn't start with bang, or it doesn't start with, and it is not consistent all through. I've seen a couple of videos that all start with stock music, and it's just the same all through. Sound like corporate sounds like a corporate style of music. It makes the audience bored or feel bored, right? Because you need to start with something that starts off slow, builds up tension, peaks, and then goes down again slow. So it goes up and then goes down. Like, it's not consistent all through the sequence, right? So that is the kind of music you want to use. I don't know what type of music will do that for you, but you need to look for music that starts off slow and ambient. I'm going to mute off this part so that we can listen to this music, and then you can see what I'm trying to say in this particular, in this case study basically, right? So I'm going to also mute off the voiceover and the sound effect as well. So let's listen to the music and see how you see what I'm talking about essentially. So you can see for the first 0 to 6, 7, 8 seconds, it was basically ambient, just a bit of pad music and a violin, nothing much, no action, just ambient sound basically, right? Just that. And then it starts to build up tension little by little with extra strings. It's building up tension. I don't know why it stops. Now it has started building up tension, right? And you can see that this is the type of music you want to use for your videos, especially videos like this, particularly like this. You don't want to start with something that is just straight, consistent. You want to start with something that starts off low energy, high energy, and then back to low energy. So depending on whatever music style you want, maybe you want a rock music, but don't start with a music that is consistent across the sequence. Start with something that probably want to start off slow, build off tension, because what you're making, right? What you're making is a movie trailer basically, but in form of a product launch, right? So you want to make your audience feel something with the music, even without the footage, only the music alone. We want them to feel that tension, that suspense, right? That oh, something is dropping, something is launching, right? So it gives that feeling. So you don't want to use a corporate style of music or this one they use for documentaries or induction videos, right? You want to use something epic, something cinematic, right? And these are the kinds of music you want to use for your videos. Don't use all those. I'll probably play it at the end of the video for you to know the kind of music to avoid for this kind of videos, right? So you can tell that the music starts off ambient, it starts to build off tension, and then there's a huge drop which I'll talk about maybe when I'm talking about the sound effects, right? But you can see there's a huge um you know tension build up right before there's a break, and then it goes to the high energy parts. This part. So you can see now that the music started off slow and ambient, and it has built up tension, and now we're in the tense part where everywhere is, this there's high energy in the song. You can tell from the way the strings are moving, the violin is sounding. You can tell that this is a high energy part, and then it builds up slow again to the end, which is going to signify the end. So when you're choosing your music, you want to listen out for these parts in your music. Listen to music that has all of this what I see sections where the music starts off slow, it builds up that tension, has high energy areas, and then goes off slowly again into the ambient region again. And so this is what I look at when I'm choosing my music. Yeah, I like to use music that has all of this, that has all of this these parts in it. So that is something to note when you're choosing music for edits, right? Listen to it all over and over again. Before I had a couple of options. Before I chose this, I listened to it all over and over again. Even before I started editing, I was editing already in my head while I was listening to the music. So these are the habits you want to inculcate when you're doing yours, right? Listen to the music over and over again. Try and edit it in your head. Try and imagine how it would look with the footages you've already imagined too, right? Everything is imagination, right? Work with your imagination, right? So try and edit it in your head, see how it's going to look at the parts where you put certain things and all of that. Because while I was listening to this music, everything that I've done here, I did it in my head, right? So it was much more easier. So as if I was just recreating what is already in my head, bringing it to life in the editing sequence. So that is what you want to do. So in choosing music. Now moving on to creating good voiceovers now. I was talking to someone earlier this week, and he sent me a work that I told him to try his hands on, and then he sent me a voiceover. The voiceover was good, the storytelling was good, but it was not the voiceover was monotonous or was robotic. Obviously, everyone can say it is AI we use to generate voiceover, right? But in as much as we use AI to generate these voiceovers, we can still tell the AI to make it sound more human like. And when people are talking in real life, there are realistic pauses, breaks, all of these things make it sound human. AI, when you tell AI to say a couple of words, right? Excuse me. When you tell AI to say a couple of words, it will just read it out because AI does not is not human, right? It will not have any break or pause until you tell it to have it. And if you want your voiceover to sound better, it has to sound as human as possible, right? So I'm going to share a tip on how to make. How am I bopping a lot? All right, so as I was saying, I'm going to share a tip where on how to create good voiceovers, that sounds as human as possible, right? With 11 labs, right? Let me open that for you. Okay, so this is 11 labs, right? And this was when I was trying to make and in the last the video I recorded yesterday that didn't had bad audio. So now let's say this is the first line of my script. In the beginning, Let's read this. In the beginning, there was a young boy, and his name is Merlin. Right? If you tell AI to generate this, it will read it out as in the beginning there was a young boy and his name is Merlin. No break, no pauses. It is not. It's not realistic. It sounds too robotic, right? It did what you asked it to do, right? It's literally garbage in, garbage out. Now, if you're using if you're using 11 labs, you have access to premium 11 labs, and let's say you use the V3, right? What I would probably do, or how I do it normally, to have like a realistic, you tell the AI that, oh, I want it in this way. You put it in this brackets. Oh, sorry, softly, softly, and in the begin, and then I put here his name is. I want a bit of a break here, a pause here, break or pause. So we can see what I just did now is, aside from the script alone, I've given the model or the AI how to say it and where to pause, where to break. So instead of reading it in the beginning, there was a young boy, his name is Merlin. He's going to read it softly. In the beginning, there was a young boy, and his name is Pause Merlin. Like when you're putting this with your music already, it is going to sound much more better than when it's just reading it as in the beginning there was a young boy, his name is Merlin. Like it is too robotic, right? You might have a good voice model, you might have a good script, but if the voiceover doesn't sound good, it sounds too robotic, your video would, it will mess up the video entirely. It's just going to give a robotic vibe, mostly AI vibe, right? So you want to do that, make sure that your voiceover has breaks in between, has pauses in between, natural pauses. So if you don't have access to you don't have access to 11 labs version 3, I don't know, I'm sure you must have, if you have access to 11 labs at all. Well, I think mine is almost done, right? So if you have access to maybe another tool, basically you can use punctuation too as well. Like AI also reads punctuation. So this comma now, make sure that there's a bit of a pause before you read this. So if you want there to be a pause, you can use ellipses, right? So the AI would read this ellipse as a pause. It is going to pause it, right? It might not be as good as the V3, right? But use punctuation as well. In the beginning, there should be more like a pause too as well. So use ellipses, use punctuation to also adopt pauses, natural pauses and breaks in between your voiceover to make it sound more natural than the robotic AI vibe, right? So do that when you're generating your voiceover too. So don't forget, when you're generating your voiceover, make sure there's natural pauses in between, breaks, cut your audio. Don't let it just read all the script entirely. Let the music play in some parts alone, no voices. Just let the music play and then bring the voice back. That is more natural than you know just letting it read all through to the end. So that is an example of how to make your voiceovers more natural in sounding. Because most people ask, how do I do? I use people use the same level labs I use, but maybe the difference is I inculcate or I adopt natural pauses in the voiceovers that make it look sound a little bit more realistic, right? So you want to do that and make your videos better, right? So back to, and you can see that's what I did um with this here. I'm going to mute the rest of this and only let the audio play out, right? So let's hear the audio now, and I'll tell you where I loaded the break in between.
Our financial world was built on transparency. It was the
You can see that there was a break in between, a bit of, I think it's about a second or a millisecond, and you can see
built on transparency. It was the decentralized dream, but on chain, you're living in a glass house.
and that break here. So, but imagine it was just reading like that straight, it would have been way robotic. So try and as much as possible to adopt breaks, natural pauses in your voiceovers. It will make it much more realistic. And you can see this part where I just cut it and put in some things here. So in your editing, yeah, make sure you don't let the voiceover just play all through. Some parts let the music just play, basically. Like in this part now, the music only played here, right? This part, the voiceover ended here. The music, I let the music play here. Okay, I guess, are we still recording? Yeah. So adopt this breaks in between your voiceovers to make it sound better. So if you play the audio, you can see that there's a part where these things are
Your
just
entire strategy exposed for the world to hunt.
I'm letting the music and some other things play without the voiceover. So
Privacy isn't just a feature, it's the superset of all markets. Why a dark pool? Because the future.
so you can see, like, I think some of the sound effects are still on, but you can see that this natural pauses that I'm putting in the sound in the voiceover is making it look less robotic and more human, right? So when you play that to the music, it sounds better.
Our financial world was built on transparency. It was the decentralized dream, but on chain, you're living in a glass house.
So you can, even without putting footages, without putting anything already, it's already beginning to sound something that you would want to watch. Basically, like just listening to only the voiceover and the music itself. So that's why you have to be intentional about your music. Adopt natural pauses, natural breaks in between your voiceover. Put them together. You already have a masterpiece. Listening to this already alone is already sweet to listen to, sweet to hear. You want to make your audience watch this already without even putting anything. So next up is gonna be selecting good shots for each scene. Right now you have your music bed, you have your background voiceover, your voiceover narration, you have a good music bed. Next thing is arranging the shot according to the script, right? That's what from your storyboard. You've already generated all your footages, you already know where you want to put them. So I'm going to mention something here now is when you are placing shots or when you are generating shots, let there be intentionality in your shots, essentially, right? Let there be intentionality in your shots. And I'm saying this because before I even go that way, when you are editing a video like this, each shot should not be more than 5 seconds long, right? Because it is, if you watch let's say if you watch movie trailers, the clips that they use are always short because it's like a teaser. They don't want you to see everything. They just want you to see short clips from different scenes, put together. In fact, where the scene in the movie can be in the actual movie, might not be where it is in the trailer, right? So, but they just put everything together in short clips. They don't want you to see the whole picture, right? It's the same way this video is structured, right? I'm not letting you see the whole picture, but I'm letting you to see enough to understand what that place means, right? And that is how this video is structured, and your product launch videos should be structured as well, right? You want to put short clips. You don't want to put a video or a clip longer than 6 seconds, right? Because the eyes is going to get bored, right? You need to 3 seconds, 4 seconds, less than, so if possible 1 second, right? Put all of these things together. So if you notice all the videos in this sequence, they are all less than, most except at most 5 seconds. It shouldn't be more than 5 seconds, right? Like, let's watch this now from here to here. Hold on.
Our financial world was built on transparency. It was the decentralized dream, but on chain, you're living in a glass.
So in less than 8 seconds, I've used about 4 5 clips. So an average of 1.5 seconds each for each clip, right? So you can see I did not use one footage for the whole 10 seconds. I used like 5 different clips for the 8 seconds, just for 8 seconds into the video. So you have seen 5 different scenes in just 8 seconds of the footage. So I'm keeping the eye busy, keeping the eyes engaged, not too busy and not too scattered, but it be busy enough to keep you glued to the video because you are wondering, oh, what's going to happen next, what am I going to see next, because the eyes are constantly being engaged. That's the style you want to adopt in editing videos like this. You want to keep every clip you use short as much as possible, right? And not too short, because if it's too short I don't get to see what is there, but long enough for the eyes to know what that place means, essentially, right? And this is the part that is going to lead me to being intentional with your shots, right? When you're editing videos like this, yeah, you want to be able to relate what the script is saying at that point in time visually, right? You want to be able to see it like visually. So in this script now, I said our financial world, right? Anything when it comes to financial world, the Wall Street is like it's one of the major, I would say this one of the seven wonders of the financial world, the Wall Street, because basically almost everything of world financially start from Wall Street, or should I say starts with Wall Street, stocks, foreign exchange, all of these things. It's literally symbolizes the financial world basically. So me using a street on Wall Street, or an avenue on Wall Street, or an image of Wall Street symbolizes our financial world essentially, right? So you want to use intentional shots to tell the story without even putting any effect on it. Just make sure that every shot you want to use is intentional about the story. It's literally explaining what part it means. Moving on to the next clip, which I used was the bull. This is a statue at Wall Street. The bull. This is the bull, right? Bull market, whatever. But another intentionality in this shot was, if you notice closely, the bull was not in focus. Yeah, right. And then moving forward, the bull came into focus, right? So these are the little, it is so subtle that most likely, if I didn't mention it, a couple of people would not have noticed it. But these things, this subtle stuff or subtle effects, is pleasing to the eye. You might not know it subconsciously, but it makes the shots 100% better or 100x better, right? If I just use the flat image, probably won't have had that same cinematic effect. But that subtle effect I did, where the background was in focus, and then the bull, you're seeing the bull was not in focus, and then it came into focus somewhere in the shot within that less than 2 seconds footage. It is something that it will be pleasing to the eye subconsciously, and generally give you an outlook of the video being better, right? So little intentionality in each shot. This is less than 2 seconds, but you can see how much effect was put in place in that 2 second shot. How much intentionality was put in that 2 second shot that will eventually make the entire video better. So make sure each shot is very, very okay, very, very nice. Make sure that each shot is very, very nice. Make sure you put enough time into them, and make them better, right? Because when you add all of this little subtle effects in all your shots together, by the time you put them together in a sequence, your videos are generally better. But if you just generate footages just like that, just because it's going to be a long sequence, and you're putting them 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds, and you think that because they are short and nobody really noticed them together, your video will just turn out to be, it might be good, but it will not be as good as what you want it to be, or you're not going to get that fine video that you obviously want it to be, right? So make sure you're intentional about each shot, right? And I'm going to share some other shots that probably you want to learn how to make, or probably want to use. I'm going to talk about the match cuts effects, which I used somewhere here, I think here. So a match cut, I've explained this in one of my videos, where match cuts is like an effect you do where you take two shots that are similar in composition, or that have similar composition, right, and you place them side by side in the sequence. It's going to give you that match cut effect. It's just as simple as that. Editing, I didn't do any major editing here. I was basically just arranging intentional shots and putting them together, right? This is a shot, and in this part, I think the script says you're living in a glass house. So in my head, I want to put someone living in a glass house, right? So let's say this is a man stepping down from the staircase in a glass house. You can see the glass walls and everything in a glass house. But imagine I left it to just for the whole period of you're living in a glass house. For this, I think it lasted from about 6 seconds, 7 seconds to about 10, 8, 9 seconds, right? Imagine I just left this footage play all through, just leave only the man walking down the stairs. It would have been boring. You would have gotten bored at this point. What I did was use a match cut to fill up the gap, keep the eye engaged. So I use the match cuts, right? So you can see a man stepping down from the staircase. His shoe is showing on the staircase with the glass wall in the background. So obviously I'm going to look for a matching composition, different shot entirely, but matching composition, because in the composition you can see the staircase, the man is with his shoe, you're not seeing the face, the glass wall is in the background, you're seeing the shoe clearly. So the next shot obviously will be a similar composition, same composition, different shot. Now you're not more seeing a loafer shoe, you're seeing a sneaker, you're seeing staircase, maybe wooden staircase. You're not more seeing is it stained glass, you're seeing a clear glass, but similar composition. So that is how a match cut effect is being achieved. You want to use this kind of shots to keep things interesting, right? You want to use this kind of shot. So look for, when you have a shot and you feel like it's it plays for too long, you want to use match cuts to fill up the spaces, make it much more interesting, right? So you use that match cut. I used it in this place, a man coming down from the staircase,
You're living in a glass house.
same thing here. Composition, a figure, a person moving from the left side, from the right side of the screen to the left out, with glass building in background or in the foreground. And I did that here too. Same thing, a figure moving from the right side of the screen to the left side of the screen, glass background and all of that. So this cuts makes the entire sequence. So I've used 4 shots instead of using 1 shot in less than 3 seconds. I've used 4 shots to fill up that space. Literally, it's all saying the same thing. You're living in a glass house, so you're seeing people walking around glass buildings, around glass houses, and all of that. So I use 4 shots instead of using just 1 shot. So these are the things you can use match cuts effects to achieve in stuff like this. It makes it much more interesting. You're keeping the eyes engaged, making it much more interesting. I don't want this video to be too long so that people can watch and rewatch again. So that is I used the match cut effects severally in this footages, but maybe when you watch the video, I'm going to put in the comment section. Maybe when you watch the video, you get to see all these things I've said. But take note of these things. So I filled up a space of 4 seconds with 4 clips instead of using just 1 clip, saying the same thing, right? So you want to keep the clips you use in the footage or in the sequence short as possible. I've said that before. Now, still talking about intentionality in shots, right? This is a movie reference, right? I could have easily used AI to generate a footage that signifies history, because I think I was talking about your history. The script said your history at this spot, right? Your history, right? And I could have used maybe an history book opening or something, generic or something obvious to use in this particular scene. But why not make things more interesting? Now, this is a movie clip. For reference, in the movie, this guy was searching through old archives looking for something. An archive, obviously, history. He was searching history for something, right? So for my audience, the most likely can relate. 80% can obviously relate to this particular scene in the movie, which is Blade Runner 2049, I think, right? He was searching through history for something, right? And at this point in my script, I was talking about history. So the moment you see it, your brain interprets it already. Yes, history. So it also buttresses the points in the script that, oh yeah, history, right? So your history, and then you see Ryan Gosling going through history, because your brain can automatically relate that, yes, in the movie you can get the reference. Basically, it's a reference, right? So your brain automatically gets the reference, which makes it much more interesting. Seeing a familiar reference that you can obviously relate to. So these things use a lot of, you cannot overuse it, but try to also use movie clips. Don't just use AI footages all through. Bring up stuff that people can relate to, movie references, meme reference people that can relate to. So because you're also making the video much more relatable to why you're passing a message, right? So that was the point of this shot here, using a movie reference that everyone, at least 80% of my audience, can relate to, basically. So not just everything has to be AI generated. Make it more interesting. Use memes, use movie references, use popular videos references as well. So essentially that is what I did in this part. So every shot was intentional, even if it was a second or 2 seconds, because you might think it's a second, the eyes cannot notice it, but trust me, the eyes are really complex or very meticulous organ. It can see even the slightest change in something, right? Or slightest effects that you would not notice, but subconsciously it has noticed it. When you remove it, you'll be able to tell that something has changed in this video, but you might not be able to point it out, right? So make sure every shot is intentional, and every clip you use is, I think this was talking about balance here. A guy, same thing in this place here. I was talking about how you think you're not being watched, and then all of a sudden you figure out that the whole world is actually watching you, right? There are obvious ways to express this part of the scene, right? But creatively, you have to imagine stuff. Excuse me, you have to be creative about excuse me, you have to be creative about displaying this what's the word, or how do I put it now, explaining these scripts, visualizing, representing these scripts, in words, in visual terms, right? You want to obviously now a guy is in the middle of a field, the spotlight only on him, all around him is dark. So to an extent, the guy only sees, because if you stand in the spotlight, you won't be able to see what is around because the light is blocking out. So in your mind, you think that only you're in the spotlight, like you're not seeing anything outside, so you don't know what is going on outside the scope of this light, right? And all of a sudden, the stadium lights open, and you can see that literally the whole stadium is watching you. So it's also, in a way, your brain can interpret that as what the script is saying at that point, that you think you're not being watched, but then the whole world is actually watching you, right? And then the stadium lights comes on, and you see the whole crowd watching you. So when you're generating your AI shots, don't just generate something what or generate something that is obvious. Try as much as possible to be creative about the shots, that also still tell the message or still passes the message, right? So when you do that, all of across all the footage, it's going to be, at first might be stressful, but the more practice you do, the more videos you generate, everything seems come easy to you, comes natural to you. So you start generating the shots, once, and then you generate all of that to the point where you're done with the video. So once you generate all your shots, right, and I'm going to show you a part where I use match cuts, like so this part here, and that part I use match cuts. So I think yeah. So this is a match cut, same composition, a guy on the decks, it's a screen here in the savannah, on the beach. I think I invited the images at this point, in the rainforests, in glacial snowy region, beach again, basically in the deserts, savannah, rainforest again. So like this is a match cut, right? Same composition, different shots, but same composition, put together side by side in a sequence. By the time you put them together multiple times, you get a match cut. And now, fun story here, this place was empty for this space from year to year. I did not know what to put in between this place, right? I had no, I was, it was, I was stuck for days to put in, so I decided to put this here, and it still made sense in the video, right? I just put this match cut there and it made sense. So match cuts can be used as fillers as well, when you're stuck, or when you don't have enough footage to fill up a space in your video, you can just use match cuts, relatable match cut anyway, because this guy is obviously trading and we're talking about trading here, right? So these are the this is the intentionality I'm talking about in footages. When you're intentional about each shot, everything makes sense, right? I'm going to talk about another shot lastly, and then we um move on to color grading and matching the shots, right? I'm looking for a part where I used I'm actually going to talk about two references, then we move on to the next part of the video, right? So this is a shot, and it says your keys stay in your pockets. For those of us in crypto, when the script says your keys, you obviously know it's not physical keys, right? Literally means the keys to your wallet, like your seed phrase basically. So your keys stay in your pocket, but it does not mean literal keys like the one your seed phrase or to your wallet. So this is a shot that signifies that kind of tells the story. Your keys, when you see a guy picking up his keys on the table, right? It still passes the message because it's your keys. It's stay in your pocket, not somewhere unsafe. Because currently the keys on the table is open to somewhere anybody can pick up the keys. But the moment the guy's hand picks up the key, it becomes more secure, right? Which literally buttresses the point here is your keys stay in your pocket, right? Like I said, your script has to be solid. If your script is not solid, whatever footage you generate might not be as good as as what you want, right? Another thing is the intentionality in this shot is this book here. If you had seen the original footage, this book here was not the reference I picked this image from. The book was something else, but I had to use AI to regenerate it and put the art of trading, because the whole point of the or the whole scope or spectrum around this video was about trading. Basically was about trading, and it would make sense to have another book here. It was just like a subliminal message for my audience, and you might think people would not notice it or people would not find it interesting, but yeah, it is one of those things that you just, as an artist, you want to put, and you don't know who would find it interesting or how many people will find it interesting. So the art of trading, because obviously the person we are talking about is a trader, right? I replaced the book. So these are the intentionality hints, or should I say this is the intentionality basically I've been talking about. Make sure every shot is passing a message or passing the message you want it to pass. Don't just use any shots. Don't just use any um footage you generate. Make sure you put in some actual message into the shot. Make sure it's intentional, right? And all of that. So this is just one part. This is just something I did while I was editing, while I was generating the footages and all of that. Same thing with, where is it? Same thing with, I think, this part. Yeah. So this part, I think I was talking about speed in this part. Speed on Solana, like how your payments or your transactions are settled in seconds, right? I could have used motion graphics to display or visualize that part, but I know what signifies speed in real life. Like what do you what does your brain think of immediately you see this stuff, or at speed? So obviously F1 cars are fast, one of the fastest cars in the world. So the moment you see an F1 car, your brain already associates it with speed, right? So using a F1 car in this scenario would make a lot of sense. So now Solana branded F1 car. So if you say Solana F1 branded car, you obviously, and I'm talking about speed on Solana, your transactions are settled in sub-second speed on Solana, is already like portraying the whole points, or agreeing with the fact that yes, speed and transaction speed on Solana is fast, right? Settlement on Solana is fast. So these are the kind of shots that you want to be using. You don't have to use obvious shots in your footage. You have to use shots that kind of like dry jokes. If you're a fan of dry jokes, use stuff that that's not obvious but still passes the message, right? And all of that, right? So that's just it on composition and selecting good shots for it. So the moment you have all of these shots, individual shots that individually passes the messages that you want to be passed at that point in the script, you put them together in the sequence with the music. We started with the music bed, the voiceover, selecting the shots, in match cuts, putting on fillers and all of that. Next thing is matching the shots, right? Making sure that they look similar, they look like from one source, right? And obviously, you generating some of these footages, they have different color palettes. Some videos might be too blue, some videos might be too red, some videos might be too green, and you might have, and a couple of shots. I used over 100 shots in this individual, or let's say over 50 individual shots in this. So imagine having to color grade them, or having them to look the same. It's nearly impossible, right? Or very, very stressful. So what you would rather do is probably use probably use black and white all through. Some people prefer to just use black or desaturate it all through. They lose all the colors, so they all look black and white all through. But because of the vibe I wanted, I didn't want all of them to look all through black. So you can just desaturate it a bit and then use a filter. I don't think I okay. I think I let me enable it. Yeah, so I use a filter here, and these black bars are just for this is how cinematic videos are put. They always have these black bars. It's mostly movie trailers or movies themselves. They have this black bars. So you also want to try and add black bars to your footage to make it much more cinematic, right? And then this, you can see this line is not there without the line. So it's an overlay, right? I think the word is TVC something R overlay, CRT overlay. Yeah, you can search YouTube for an overlay and place it on your videos, but make sure it's not too obvious. Just dial it down a bit. But these are like CRT overlays. So search for YouTube for CRT overlays and then download, and then you can place over your videos. I made this myself, right? So you can also make them with Premiere Pro, but since all of us are not using Premiere Pro, so you can obviously download from YouTube and place it as an overlay on your videos to get this CRT effect. So it's not going to really going to change anything, but it's going to make sure that all the footages look similar because they are all having the filter overlay on it. And I desaturated the videos a bit, make sure that the colors are not too colorful, right? And make sure that they kind of look the same. So they're not all the same anyway, but having the effect over all the videos all through the sequence kind of made it like they all came from the same source, right? And all of that. So these are just little things that you could do so I did that, and the whole video was okay. And I put all the footages together. They put this, you can see that this layer is where the CRT overlay is on top. I put them, then this is my texts, and images on top of it. So I don't want the text to be under the effect. I really want the footages to be under. So everything under this layer is my footages. We have my music bed, we have my voiceover, we have my shots, which are the AI shots and movie clips and footages I used, and you have the CRT layer on top to make sure that all the footages have this line effect and the saturated effects to give it, a similar, not the same look, but I see they came from the same source. And then you have my text layers essentially, right? And don't forget the black bar so as well to make it look cinematic, right? So that's for that. For color, I didn't do much color grading per se, but I could call it color grading or match, color matching, right? And then the next step is sound effects, right? And so this part, if a lot of people are quite not too familiar with, I would say not quite unfamiliar with sound effects, basically, right? Sound effects spans um across, or should I say, it goes further than adding all these risers, whooshes, swooshes, slides, slide impacts. It also goes beyond all of those things. It goes to the point where you need to immerse your audience with the sound you feel like they should be hearing or they should be experiencing in the video, because aside the fact that you're taking them, you're an artist, you want them to feel something from the video, right? You want them to feel what in the video is also saying at that point. I'm going to use, I think, one or two scenarios in this video to explain that part, right? I think there's a part where the crowd was showing. Let's see. I think it was this part. Okay. Yeah, I think it was this part. Now, in this part, yeah, when I play this part, I put a crowd effect here. The crowd sound effect here. Yeah, let's put
Posed
it.
for the world.
Let me turn off the music. See if it's gonna play.
For the world to hunt.
Now notice.
Exposed for the world to hunt.
Now notice the way the crowd sounded. It didn't sound, because I know if you want to add a crowd, a crowd noise, you most likely will search YouTube or any sound library that you know and search for crowd noise. And I wanted to note that you have to be careful when selecting sound effects for particular scenes in your videos, because you have to also be intentional about selecting this particular sound, right? Now, looking at this particular scene, the camera is not somewhere in the crowd. The camera is most likely at the top of the stadium, or looking at viewing the whole stadium from a high standpoint, right? And if you're realistically standing in that position, the sound you would hear obviously will be crowd noises, but it will not be the same type of noise you hear from a crowd in a room, or in a large room, or somewhere close to you, or if you're in the middle of the room, or the same crowd noise you hear from the streets, right? It has to be realistic, right? Not because you're seeing crowd and you don't want to just put crowd noise there and then you just put a random crowd noise, a sound effect that you have. You have to be careful or very intentional about the type of crowd noise you use in this, because right now the camera is staying in a place where it's high above the stadium, so it has to be distant. First off, the crowd noise has to be distant, and that's to give a sense of skill, right? Because if I use a crowd noise where the crowd is in a room and the crowd is making noise, it's not give the same effect. It's going to even damage the video, to be very honest, because it's going to look so off. It's going to sound so off, right? So these are the things you need to also take note of when you're adding sound effects. If you're adding a sound effect for an action that is taking place far away from the camera, you have to use a sound that sounds far away from the camera, so that it's going to give that sense of immersion. Because let's say, for instance, that in a knife fight scene, if the camera in the scene is far from the knife fight, you don't want to put a sound effect that sounds as if the knife is close to the camera. It's going to sound off, entirely off, and it's going to look so edited. It's not going to look real. And the goal of your videos is to immerse your audience both visually and orally, like in terms of audio, right? So the camera here at this point is standing a bit far away on top of the stadium, kind of. Excuse me. And so you don't want the noise to the crowd noise to be too close to the camera, so you don't want it to sound too close to the camera as well. So it's going to give a bit of realism. You are going to immerse your audience in that sound. So if someone has been in a situation like this, it sounds realistic to him. He feels he's in that position. He's actually the one, you know, holding the camera at that point, or is the one actually experiencing what the camera is seeing in real time. So take note of that when you're using sound effects. Also look at the distance from the camera, right? You know, the camera is a wide angle camera, so obviously the camera is probably far away, right? So you want to use distant sounds because you're far from the crowd. So if you're using close up sounds from, you know, in a far distance scenario, it's going to sound off. So that's the thing you want to do when selecting sound effects for each scenes, right? So that's what you want to do as well. I think I did. Let me look for something um or another point where I think I used that. uh okay, so I guess trying to look for, yeah, this part, where this part now, notice. Okay, just hold on, let me play the parts.
Because the future
I think I muted it. Okay, let me play it up.
dark pool, because the future of the chain,
So this part now,
because
this sound now, there was, I think the music was paused at this point, or the music was lower at this point, or I paused the music at this point, right? the, the sound of the pool sounded much more close because the camera at this point is not far away. It's as if you are also in the pool. So that was the intentionality in this at this point here. The camera looked as if it was actually in the pool. So I needed a much more closer sound of the pool, right? Instead of using a far distance sound of a stream. I think I use the sound of a stream or something for this part, right? So you want to be, this is it here. This is it. So this is the clip this is the sound where clip I used for this part where the pool was, and it made sense because let me mute every other part and you see. So you can see, right? And these are the things you want. So it's sound effects spans, or it goes beyond just adding risers, and all of that. Now let's now move back. Since I said it goes beyond the risers, let's still talk about risers, impacts, whooshes, and all of that, right? Also, all of these are like artificial sound effects. Let's call them artificial sound effects for the sake of this tutorial. These ones we used are realistic ones. Let's call them natural sound effects, because this is what you are seeing in the video. Now the artificial sound effects are the ones that I'm going to talk about now, which is the risers, the impacts, the whooshes. When there's a movement in your shots, you want to add whooshes to elevate or to exaggerate the movement, right? To make sure the audience take note of that particular movement, right? So I'm going to show you what a riser is. And for those of you watching the video do not know what a riser is. Now, a riser is what they use it in music, and riser is more or less like it is in music. You call it crescendo, right? Where when the music is about to hit the peak, or when the volume of a music is about to, it's more or less like it signifies tension. When something's about to happen, the tension begins to rise, begins to build up. So the consistent rise in either volume or intensity of a music at that point is called a riser. So a riser signifies that. Yeah, but sometimes in your music you might not have that at the point where you want something to happen, so you artificially influence it, and that's what why you have riser sound effects. So when you hear something like this, I'm gonna play it out now. You can tell that something's about to happen because you can see the consistent rise in intensity, or should I say volume. So in your mind, automatically, when your ear is hearing something like that, when you're hearing something like that in a video or in a music or any point in any sound, your mind is automatically expecting something to happen, maybe a beat drop, or music stops, or something's just going to happen at the point where it peaks, right? And in this case, let me slow down, and in this case, yeah, uh in this case, something's about to happen, which is the music breaking at this point. So I used to, this is another one here. I used to for to exaggerate I needed to use two because I wanted it to sound much more pronounced. I could have used one, but it wouldn't have sounded pronounced here, so I had to use two. So, and then the music paused here, and I think this the stream now played or something, right? So that is the effect of risers to influence or to make your audience feel something's about to drop. So you use it when you want to do something, different, or you want to just what's the word I would use for years? You just want to introduce tension into the vibe at that point in time, or you want to just do something different. Um, DJs do it, right? DJs do it a lot. When they are playing a particular song and when the beat is about to drop and they do that stuff that where the music is going high and then boom, the beat drops. A lot of DJs do it. So they're called risers, right? You can use them in your videos as well. So search for, if you want to get risers, you can just search on the internet riser sound effects and you get a couple of libraries where you have them, right? So I have a couple of them. I'll probably share if I will consider sharing if I want to. But yeah, risers. They have whooshes. Whooshes. Now when there's a movement, I don't think I use whoosh in this. I don't think I use whoosh in this particular video. But yeah, whooshes. Then you have digital scroller or something. I think this is what I use for that. Okay, this one was for this is another artificial sound effect. This was one I used for the sound, the timer, obviously, right? So I think this is for the car. Now this is a natural sound effect because this one is actually happening in a and you can see the camera is closer to the camera. The F1 car is closer to the camera here. So at this point, I want it to be louder because I'm obviously closer to the engine or the car itself. So I would obviously use a sound effect that sounds closer to the camera rather than using a distant car sound that maybe a distant F1 car. So these are the things I'm talking about. You have to also consider um was it this the distance of the camera to the object you're trying to the sound you're trying to imitate in the video, right? So for this I think I use a further distance sound in this one. It's okay. Okay, I think I didn't use it. I think I later deleted it. So this is also another, this is also, yeah, stopwatch and everything, sub-second and all of that. So basically you want to use sound effects, all of these sound effects, where you think you need to be. And one thing about sound effects, don't overdo it, right? Don't put it everywhere. It becomes too overstimulating. Don't overstimulate your audience, right? Put it where you feel like the sound is not really, or the music is not really doing much or justifying so you can add the sound effects there. You can see there are a lot of places where I could have added sound, but I did not because I would have overstimulated the audience. So I just put them at appropriate places where I felt like, okay, the music is not really doing justice to this shot. So I want to add a bit of immersion so that when people are watching it, they're visually and orally um immersed in the video. So you want to look at points in your video where you feel like, okay, I think I need to know, people need to really understand that, oh, this is what, like this part where the sand, I introduced a wind sound with sand and everything, where like the sand was moving. Let me try and play it. I think I muted this part. Did I? Yeah, I think I muted it. Let me unmute it. Yeah, I muted it. So yeah, this part. So like sand, covering up the footprint and everything, zero footprint. Like you can see the intentionality in this. I didn't use a footprint up close. I used the desert scene where the wind, obviously this is what happens by natural causes. When you walk on the desert, after some days, the wind blows sand over it and covers the footprint up again. So zero footprint, meaning that with go dark, you literally get no footprint. So even if you walk through or you use scoop and go dark, you get zero footprint because just like the desert, it clears up any footprint or any print that might lead back to you. So basically, these are the intentionality in short I was talking about. The sound effect has to be intentional. Everything you do has to make sense. Has to make sense to you before you put it out. Don't put it out because the script says so. Put it out because it's literally passing a message that you want it to, right? So do all of that, and I guess. So I did all of that for my video. I did all the sound effects. You can see, I think I've showed you like 2 3 points where I added sound effects intentionally, all of that. The shutter speed and shutter sound, camera shutter, the one that you use. I think you use that one for for when you're using match cuts. I'm sure this one is popular. I think this one. Yeah. I think this is a digital scroller though. But you can use camera shutter for this one. This one is very common in I've seen this one in TikTok edit, so I think it's common. Shutter and all of that. So just use that for I don't know why it's hanging, but yeah, just to make the shots interesting, right? And all of that. So you do that. You add. I use the riser here too as well. So now, so where you can use risers, I use risers at the beginning sometimes where where the person's about to say, okay, hey guys, my name is Mide, and I'm about to, I'm about to. This is the point where I'll put riser because yeah, also I've told you I'm about to, but I need to exaggerate the anticipation for what I'm about to do, so I can use the rider at that point in my video. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So at this point, you use riders to create anticipation. I'm about to, and then use riser. So now they are immersed in that anticipation that, oh, something's about to happen. Because you're saying so, and then the sound they're listening to is also, suggesting so that yeah, something's about to happen. And also the end too. You can also use it at the end. I think I used it at the end. Yeah, so this is the end, and I did that at the end, and so you can see the end obviously. So I use the riser then. So I'm preparing my audience for something. You don't know if it's the end or not, but something is going to happen, which is the end obviously. But I'm creating I'm preparing my audience for something that's about to happen, which is obviously the end. But they don't know it yet. But I have prepared them already. So when it comes, it's it gives that satisfaction that yes, something did happen, right? So these are the points where you can use risers and all of that, right? My video is already 1 hour, so I probably want to that concluding stuff here. I think I've shared more than I've shared enough, right? I've shared a lot more than I thought I would. But yeah, so that is how I edited. That's the simple workflow. You selecting the music bed, making sure your voiceover is well aligned in with the voiceover, placing them in introducing breaks, natural pauses, and all of that. Then arranging your shots properly, making sure it's intentional, passes the message, and putting them across the timeline. Once it makes sense to you when you play it over, you can trim it down, you can cut it down, you can where there's spaces you add fillers, you use match cuts to add as fillers and all of that. Then you color grade if you can. If it's not too long, you can color grade or just make sure that the shots look similar. You can use filters. Some people use old film overlay. You can search for old film overlay, or you can use TV CRT overlay too as well to make sure that the shot look as if they come from the same source. Then you add your text. Obviously, these are my text layers. I had to delete some of the text layers because they were making Premiere Pro crash because it's from a newer version. So some of the effects are not in this version. So I had to delete some of the text. But anyway, you add your text layers where needed, and then you come to sound effects, natural sound effects, the ones that are actually in the video, and the one that you use to exaggerate, like risers, impact whooshes, and all of that. I might create a pack for you guys. I'll consider that, but I might or I might not. But if I consider it, then yeah, maybe I will share my own sound pack. I'll create my own sound pack and share with you guys the ones I use for my videos, right? So I'll do that, and yeah, I think that's all about the video. Yeah, don't forget the black bars as well. So black bars make your videos much more cinematic as well. So you want to do that, and I think that's all basically. So yeah, that is how I came up with this video. I'm going to put the video in the comment section so you can watch it and take note of all the things I've said, and then you find out that's what I meant. Watch the video frame by frame and discover that each shot has its own intentionality basically. So yeah, that's it for today. I see you on the next one.